Hey everybody, welcome to our Volusion training today. I want to revisit the subject of category editing for a little bit and category manipulation as a whole, just so that you guys can better understand how to work with your categories within the Volusion software. We're looking at a website right now that currently, as you can see here at the top, has 4 categories. You've got a bracelets category, earrings, necklaces, rings. So we're gonna sort of use this as our template today and discuss what to do to edit these and to add more and so on and so forth. So if you're newer to Volusion, I think this is going to be good for you. You should be able to manipulate your categories a little bit better after this. Now let me go ahead and first log into the account here, and I got to get to the dashboard first. So that should always be step one. Make sure you get to the dashboard. And the first thing we're going to do together is we're just going to create a very simple category. So I'm going to start by going to inventory and then categories right here. And you'll see several sections. In fact, most of the time you'll notice that, and on most builders, you'll notice it'll say nav menu 1, and then it'll have more nav menus than that. Nav menu 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Those don't always even have a place within your site. Most of them are deactivated. The only nav menu you should really be using is this one right here, nav menu 1, okay? And what nav menu 1 usually refers to is that usually refers to the top of your site. So nav menu 1 for this particular site is this whole section right here. If I want categories running across the top of my site, I'm going to do it through nav menu 1, okay? So simple enough. If I want to create a new category, I should be able to do that. I just come here to add menu item. And we're going to call this, I don't know, Trevor's test category, so we know which one it is. Of course, you could name it whatever you want, right? But that's what you'll do, usually in all cap, or at least capitalize the first letter, not all caps, because it is a title. And then this is the part that a lot of you guys forget. Right after you name the category, if it's going to be a main category, you want to skip this section, okay? Don't do anything with that. If it's going to be a main top-level category. If it's going to be a submenu of one of these, in other words, it's going to fall below or underneath the umbrella of, say, rings, then I would click rings, okay? But if it's not, then please just don't select any of this, okay? I'm going to have to cancel it. Once you click on it, it's hard to deselect. So we'll call this Trevor's test category. It's a main category. We're not going to worry about this section. We're not going to hide the category either, but we are going to do something with this here. If you do not select this option right here, this show in menu section, and you don't choose nav menu 1 like I just did there, then it's not going to show up anywhere on your site. It's a category that's been created but not displaying on your site. So you have to go there and choose nav menu 1, and then it'll display there at the top of your site, okay? All right, well, if we save this now, up at the top right of the hand side of the screen, you just hit the save button. And we come out and we reload the site, you'll see what we just did here. We created Trevor's test category, okay? Easy enough, right? Now there's no products in it right now. We haven't added anything into it. But at least the category's been created. And I can create as many of those as I want and have them running across the top here. Now if I get too many categories and it starts to look cluttery, I might want to consider consolidating them into submenus. So maybe I have a lot of bracelets for sale, but I've got a lot of gold ones and a lot of silver ones, and then I've got some that are finer bracelets. I could create submenus for gold, silver, fine, and we can do that here in just a second. But really, suffice to say, I just wanted to show you guys how to create a basic category, and there you go. Now, in most cases, when you create a new category, I think it's wise, if you scroll down the screen, you're going to see category images. You'll also see this advanced info section, and you'll see lots of different things you can click on here within editing a category. You'll see category description, search engine optimization, category display, subcategory display, product display, miscellaneous. And then within each of these little sections here, there's lots of little options and things that you can do, okay? The only thing that you really should do when you first create a new category is you should go down to this one called product display, where I am right now, okay? And under product display, there's a few changes you really should make because it's going to make the formatting on your product pages look really nice. Now, I've seen formatting after a client has created a product page, or sorry, a category page and added products to it, where the formatting looks really funny. The products show up a little odd. They have a lot of their description there. It doesn't really look very clean and simple. If you want to make it to where the formatting on the category is very clean and very simple and conducive to the look that we want on one of these e-commerce sites, you're going to make these changes here. So product display, we're going to go product display mode here at the top is going to be a responsive grid. So I'll select that. And then we're going to scroll down here and we're going to select show description and show description short, no and no, okay? Those three things. Now, I'm not going to explain exactly what each of those does right now. I'm just going to say, and suffice to say it, because this is kind of a beginner's training, that each one of your categories needs this kind of formatting. Now, if the website was already built for you, it's likely those categories already have that kind of formatting. But if you're creating brand new categories and brand new subcategories every single time you do it, you really should make these changes, and your formatting will look really great on the site, okay? So just a couple of little formatting helps there for you guys. Okay, now let's say for a second that I wanted to create a submenu, okay? So let's go ahead and go back to inventory and let's go to categories again. Oh, wait, I should save this first. Sorry, I almost forgot to click save. So make sure before you go on to the next page, you click save, which is now done. So that's been saved. Okay, so I'm going to create a new category. So I can start over again, inventory, categories, and then I'm going to do add new menu item or add menu item, found right here. Okay. Now we're going to call this submenu, okay? Submenu test is what we're going to call it. And I want it to show up underneath the umbrella of this one right here, Trevor's test category. So I don't want it to be its own line item, its own heading. I want it to fall underneath Trevor's test category. And an example of why we might do this is if you were selling, say, sporting gear, and you had a sporting gear section, you may have it classified by NBA, NFL, MLB, NCAA, so on and so forth. Maybe you've got some categories that would fall under that. Like we were talking about the rings earlier, maybe you've got silver rings, so you have a silver section. Gold rings, you have a gold section. Fashion rings, you have a fashion section, right? That's what we're creating here. So the big rule of thumb here when you're doing a subcategory is you name it, you select which one you want it to fall under, which I just did here, and then you actually do not do show in menu because we don't want it to show up in any menu because it's already as a subcategory of, in this case, Trevor's test category, okay? But you will need to go down and do what we did earlier. So we're going to go down here to product display mode, responsive grid, and then we're going to select down here at the bottom no and no under show description and show description short, just so the formatting is correct as well. And then I'm going to hit save up here at the top right. Okay, once I've done that, if you guys want to see what you did and what your changes look like, just come up here to the top right And I always click on this little box right there. You guys can see that okay? That's the link that will bounce you out to the site. And I can see what I've done here, okay? And you'll notice now when I roll my mouse over Trevor's test category, I get another little menu that comes up, submenu test, okay? So that means I created a subcategory there, and I can create as many of these as I want. This submenu here could be very lengthy if I had lots of things to fall under it. But a word of advice to you, if you don't have a lot of products to put in each one of your submenus, there's no reason to create them right now. So I've had a few of you decide that before you added any products, you were going to build out the whole entire skeleton of your categories. And so you've got 7 or 8 main menu categories and then 10, subs underneath it. And then when you're trying to add products to all of these, it gets a little overwhelming, and because you don't want to launch your site with categories or subcategories that are empty, right? So you want to make sure you get at least something underneath each of those. So I don't think you should do all that up at the start. I think you should maybe create a little bit of a structure and then just sort of grow and add more categories as you go along, okay? Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting category issues. Some of you will report that you've created a category, but you can't find it. You swear you created it, but you can't find it anywhere. It's not showing up anywhere under your categories page. Or there's some of you will report that you just see some funny stuff showing up with your categories, some circular logic. In other words, like when I come here to, say, add a new category, I'll name it whatever I name it. And then when I want to put it as a submenu, I see some weird, like repeating subcategories. It'll say like bracelets, earrings, bracelets, earrings, bracelets, earrings, over and over and over again, with this big long list of it. And clients are wondering, how that happens or why that shows up. So I want to just talk a little bit about troubleshooting. What I do when I'm first trying to figure out what's wrong, if I've made a mistake or I've lost a category, I'll start by going to my categories section, just like always, but I'll go up here and I'll click on this button here. This is your view list option, okay? And I like the view list section because view list will show you every single category that's currently active and has been created within your Volusion store. So there'll be a big long list of stuff here if you've got them. So within this site that we're looking at here, you'll see a list of them, and each one is actually numbered, so it's easy to kind of keep track of things. Here's your numbers section, or I'm sorry, your numbers column. So you've got number 139 is related to necklaces, number 140 is bracelets, 141 is rings, so on and so forth, okay? So each category has its own identification number. Now this is important because it helps you make sense of what you're seeing here on the list. Notice here at the bottom, I've got a category called, it's number 145, and it's called submenu test. That's the submenu that we all created together. But you're going to notice that it has a parent ID. Now none of these other ones have parent IDs. They're all 0, right? All these are 0 going down. This one does. The parent ID is 144. Well, what is number 144? It's this one right here. It's my test category. So what this is essentially saying is that number 144 is the parent to this one right here, which is 145. Okay, there's a lot of red on the screen. Let me show that again. 144 is the parent to 145. And we know that because 145 has a parent ID of 144, right? So that just means that Trevor's test category has this as a submenu underneath it. And you know it just from the numbers. Now that's important because like I was telling you earlier, I've seen some circular logic issues. So if you ever need to edit this column, you can roll your mouse over it and hit edit. And if for whatever reason I didn't want one of these as a parent ID or having a parent, meaning I don't want it as a submenu, again, the only ones that would actually have a number here would be one that is a submenu, right? So if I didn't want that, I could just change that to 0, and then I could save it, and that would eliminate it as a submenu, okay? In fact, let's try it. I'll just hit save. I put in 0 there. Hit save, and if I want to see what I did, I can click on the little icon at the top right, and sure enough, when I roll my mouse over Trevor's test category, nothing comes up. The question is, though, where did it go? Like, where did that category go that we created? It's no longer a submenu, but it's not showing up here at all. Well, if you guys will look with me here, I want you to notice this column right here. This is the show and menu column. Items that have a number 1 here are going to show up in the menu. Items that have nothing aren't going to show up anywhere. So this isn't in the menu because it doesn't have a 1 there. If I wanted to put it in the menu, I could. Roll my mouse over it. Hit the little edit option. And then I could put a 1 in right here and save it. Then again, come up here to the top right. This little icon up here. And sure enough, that's showing up in my main menu, okay? Now, obviously, I don't want that because that was designed to be a submenu. So what I could do is instead I could, let's go down and change this to 0. And then we want to make this a submenu again of 144. Save it. Go view it again. And then we fixed it. So a lot of your category manipulation can actually happen from that screen, which is good. And it's actually especially helpful when you get a lot of categories here. Right now it doesn't look so bad because there's only a small handful of categories, but it can be a lot worse if you've got a lot of categories. Okay. Now this is the circular issue I was telling you about that sometimes you'll see. And it's born out of just a simple mistake that gets made. Somehow, remember, this submenu test, has a parent ID of 144. But I've seen some of you guys that accidentally have that parent ID also be a submenu of the same. So 145 is this one's parent, yet this one says that its parent is 144, meaning they're parents of each other. And I don't know how some of you guys do this. I think it's just accidental, but you do. I'm going to save this and show you what it looks like. If you do that, and then I go back to categories, and I go to add a new category, you're going to see this kind of thing show up. This is what I was referring to earlier. Something is obviously wrong here, right? And that's because I created some circular logic within Volusion that doesn't make any real sense. We're saying that Trevor's test category owns or is the parent to the submenu test, but that one somehow is a parent to Trevor's test category, so it's circular. It doesn't make any sense. So if you see this in your subcategory section, it just means that somewhere here, if we go to inventory and then categories and you go to view list, somewhere there's something wrong with the logic in how you've set up your categories. You've got to find the mistake by looking at category numbers and parent IDs and try to make sense of what happened. And usually it's something like this. So I can fix this. I can, of course, edit this one so it has no parent ID. It shouldn't. Put a 0 there. and save it, and then that should fix the issue. Okay. So guys, these are categories. I mean, I actually think it's very simple once you get the hang of doing categories. You want to have, 7 or 8 main top level categories. If you want, if you have enough products, you want to have some submenus to fill those up with with products and keep everything organized. A site that has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products probably has dozens of categories. But if your site only has 50, 60, 70 products, you don't need 25 categories. You just need 5 or 6, right? Something simple. After all, I mean, you create categories so that your e-commerce site doesn't have just one single giant page of products. It's just it's an organizational tool that's used to make users be able to find products easier. You don't want to do that to a point where you make it worse. And so we want to try to keep this simple. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. Once you've created your categories, then the next step is to go in with your inventory and go to your product section and start adding products to those categories, which is real easy to do. You hit add product, and while you're creating your product, there'll be a spot within the product edit screen right here where you can select a category for the product to go into. So we're going to hit select categories, and then you would go ahead and select whatever category you wanted and save it, and that would classify that product into that category. Okay. I won't show you any product adding today just because I want to keep the scope to categories only. If I wanted to delete a product or delete a category, it's very simple as well. Right here on this main screen under the categories section, I can just roll my mouse over where it says Trevor's Test Category, and watch me as I roll my mouse over to the far right, and I see this little trash symbol right here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that and say yes, delete this category with its subcategories as well, and that will get rid of it altogether. Okay? And then it's gone. So hopefully that helps. If you need a little more help beyond that, of course, contact your coach. We may do some advanced category training in the future, but most of you guys just need the basics, and this is exactly what this is. So I hope this was helpful, and I wish you the best on your categories. Good luck organizing your site.